whatnot. The reason we like to have people come to our home is because, it's your choice what you want to do with your kid, We're not going to push ABA therapy on you. It worked for our kid. It's working for our kid. But it may not be right for you. You have to follow your own gut. And if you go into other people's homes, sometimes they're just adamant that this is what you have to do. And Eric and I aren't like that at all. We want people to come see it in a relaxed setting, and we want them to judge for themselves, see it firsthand. And most people that leave our house go, wow, that's not at all what I was told it was, or that's not what I saw at somebody else's house. So it's just different here. We try to have a good time. I've had people come in and go, you people are crazy. I would never put my kid through this. And that's cool. I have no issue with that at all. Just because I choose one form of therapy doesn't mean that I'm not open to other forms. I will never judge another parent because they don't like the therapy that I do. And there's a lot of that goes on. It's really sad, actually. What else? I've had parents, people that have come in and have said, why would I do that with my kid? Look at where your kid's at. Your kid barely talks and whatnot. He's kind of like a robot, and people don't understand where Xander started. Like, there's no frame of reference as to how bad it really was. We lost him. He developed normally. He hit all his milestones. He was attentive. He was just infectious with smiles and wanted to be interactive, and it just all got ripped away. And that's probably the cruelest part about autism, is that you think you're in the clear and you think, oh my God, my kid's thriving, and then it literally goes backwards and he hits a wall and it's like he's been attacked by aliens. It's so bizarre. It's just, you can't even imagine. So when we started ABA therapy with Xander, he was completely nonverbal. He had the sounds of an infant. He would cry and he would scream for hours over the littlest things. And he spent most of his days just walking around the perimeter of our house, holding on to something. He always had something in his hand. He was very self-injurious, meaning like hurting himself. He would slam his head into everything, the concrete, the wall, you name it. There were periods of time where we couldn't take him outside. I was afraid somebody would call child services because they wouldn't understand. He had no eye contact at all. This is how my son looked at me for the longest time. That was the only eye contact you could barely get out of him, and it was creepy. It was just really creepy. That was it. He'd stopped eating. I mean, most of you who are my friends anyway, you've read like the old blog posts when I first started that, and the whole story's in there. But he could not imitate. That's the craziest thing about all of this. Imitation is like such a huge part of human development. That's how kids learn a lot of what they do. And my son could not imitate anything. He couldn't handle, do this. And all you want to do is drop a ball into a bucket, and he can't do that. He couldn't discriminate between objects, two objects on a table, and you say do this, and you pick up the green square or block or whatever versus the orange one. He couldn't tell the difference. He couldn't discriminate actions with objects like playing a xylophone versus clapping his hands or ringing a bell. He couldn't match. He couldn't match a blue card to a blue card, or a picture of a dog to another picture of the same dog. He couldn't do any of that stuff. It was crazy. So he's come night and day. Like, we're so happy because he can speak. He just needs a lot of speech therapy now, and he needs that light bulb to go off to help him to form sentences. And he also needs help initiating conversation. He will come to me for out of necessity, and he will say cookies. And because I'm his mom, I know he's asking me for cookies, but he's not really asking. If he goes up to a stranger on the street, they're going to be like, okay, why is this guy saying cookies? You know, so we still have a really long way to go. But my theory on that is, if you can imagine waking up tomorrow and you're speaking and nobody is responding to you, like you're hearing the words and you're saying, hey dude, what's up? And nobody's acknowledging you, like the whole world. It's suddenly like nobody can hear you, but you know you're talking. Like how long would that go on before you just gave up trying to initiate? And how lonely and how scary would that feel? So I just try to put myself in his shoes. It took us a few years to get to this point. He's probably felt neglected because he probably talked a lot, even though it was gibberish. But to him in his head, he was talking and just nobody acknowledged it. So that's where we're at. And from going to be, you know, from him being completely nonverbal to having over 300 words of things that he can label, you know, the simple version of saying, you know, cat, ball, mom, cookies, you know, things like that. He's got a few little sentences now, like, I want iPad, please. He can say that. So if he has the ability to say that, he's got the ability to formulate other sentences. And we just have to figure out how to show him that we're listening and get that light bulb to go off and get him excited about that. So it's crazy, but I have a feeling this is going to be a big year. And I'm hoping you'll all come on the journey with us. So, love to you all. Bye.